Hello, everyone, and welcome to Words for Life. My name is Stephen. I'll be your host today. Today, we're going to look at the topic around dream evaluation. So, what is your peak or mountaintop? Some of us have a dream that if we feel we could reach, it would make our life complete. Unfortunately, not everybody has really been fortunate enough to reach those dreams or realize what those are. So, today's episode is going to be finding out what is your peak or mountaintop. So, let's get started. I'm sure you've heard about the person who's found their passion or their calling in life, and they seem superbly happy and really satisfied with the way their life is going. You might think to yourself, how can I find my passion? Why can't I do the same thing? Do I even have a passion? What might it be? A lot of these questions pop up, and we're not exactly sure how to go and find out where they're coming from or how to go and obtain or reach those dreams or passions or find out what they are. If you found yourself asking these questions and admiring those around you who have a passion or a dream that they're pursuing, this episode is for you. Now, finding your passion or your peak or mountaintop can sometimes take a very long time. Some people spend their entire lives seeking out, trying to determine what is their passion in life, what is their peak or mountaintop. Some people don't even realize what it is until they're much later in life, in their 60s or 70s, or possibly even later. So today I'm going to give you some probing questions to ask yourself to try and identify what your mountaintop or your peak is. Small disclaimer first, I'm giving you some questions as tools to help identify what your peak or mountaintop is. This is not an easy button. This isn't like, oh, I'll ask myself these questions and then everything will work out fine. It's not meant to be that way. I'll also say that looking for what your passion or your goal or your peak or your mountaintop is can be uncomfortable sometimes. Sometimes you have to ask yourself some deep and probing questions that really challenge your sense of self. So as you're going through and asking these questions, remember that be honest with yourself and really be truthful with the answers that you give. My hope is that through these questions and this exercise, you might come closer to finding your mountaintop. You might not be all the way there, but at least you're going to be one step closer. Now that we kind of got that out of the way, let's get started. As I said before, your passion is what fulfills you, what makes your life have meaning or purpose. This could be anything as simple as taking care of your family. This could be something as grandiose as I want to go and be an Olympic swimmer. You never know. But it's really making sure that whatever you're going to pursue or look for to find your passion, it's got to be a lot of introspection and it's can be difficult and challenging. So let's go ahead and get started and talk through a few of the questions that can help you get going. So the first one is pretty straightforward. What are you most passionate about in life? This is obviously, like I said, very straightforward. By asking yourself point blank, what are you interested in? And not even just interested, but what really gets you going? What do you find passion in doing or seeing or talking about? This is usually a pretty good indicator of what your peak or mountaintop is. So if you find it's something that you already do, you might be surprised that your passion is something you already do today. You just haven't really put it in words or terms of your passion or peak or mountaintop. So this is one way you can go and do it. Just evaluate, what are you passionate about? Another good question is to go and look at, if you had a year to live, what would be most important for you to do in that time? This one kind of gives us a shortened time frame. When we feel like we have forever to think about what we are going to do in life, it spans over a long period of time and we feel less urgency to determine what that is. But if we give ourselves a shortened timeline, obviously it's metaphorical. You hopefully do not have just a year to live. But if you give yourself a shortened time frame to go and find out what you really appreciate that you're doing or that you're living in your life, this can help force you in a way to think more diligently about those passions or the things that give you meaning or purpose or drive you to your peak or mountaintop. Usually people, when they are in dire straits, possibly only having a few months or years left to live, they have a refocus on what is important in their life rather than the superfluous items such as like scrolling through Instagram, trying to be better than somebody else, competing with X, Y, or Z person over whatever might be nagging them at the moment. So it really helps bring life into perspective about what is important and what really gives meaning to their life. The next one we have is what makes your heart sing? This kind of comes from the more emotional perspective, but passion generally is tied with emotion, but sometimes it's more logical. But in this case, this question is what makes your heart sing? So really, when you think about an action or behavior that you're doing or an event that you're attending and you feel your heart pour out with joy and happiness and all the other things that come from being excited about doing that activity, that could be a really good indicator that you have at least gotten closer to what might be your passion peak or mountaintop. It might be something as when you are helping others out at a soup kitchen, giving out soup and seeing the smiles on the people's faces around them, that you really have this sense of, wow, I'm helping others. This is making me feel good. I feel like I could do this all the time. It might also be working with underprivileged children who don't have all the opportunities and resources that maybe you yourself had or those around you have. So this could be taking them to events and places they couldn't normally go to, or helping them learn to read, or educating them on different aspects of life and things they don't normally get a good education on. Sometimes it could be helping a tough friend, consulting them through a tough time in their life, whether they're grieving from a loss of a relationship or trying to make a determination on what's the best step in their career and or in their life. By looking at those and really feeling within your heart what is important and what feels good, that can lead you to determining what your peak or mountaintop might be. So this one's a little bit on the flip side, but what would be the hardest to live without or do without? This is taking the negative of it, right? It's not looking at what are the things that give you joy, but what would you have difficulty not being able to do anymore? Let's say you were no longer able to run or compete in marathons. That might be devastating to you, and you might find that you enjoy marathons and running so much that it is part of your being, that is part of who you are as a person, and that really gives you a reason to wake up in the morning and to go out and put on your running shoes and go for a good run. It gives you that exhilaration that if it was taken away from you, you would feel empty, hollow, and you wouldn't really have a purpose to continue to wake up early in the morning or do the activities that would normally be mundane because you have this other part of your life that gives you purpose and meaning. So by looking at it more in terms of what would be the hardest to do without, it gives you a different kind of insight into what are the things that are important to you. Another one is what areas of your life do you have the most energy for? What, why for those things? And where does this energy come from? Excuse me. So as you're going through and looking for the feeling of what energy, what makes you wake up in the morning, as I just said for the other one, as you're going and feeling like, oh, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. so I can get out before sunrising to go hiking, or I'm going to go and wake up early so I can begin my day of planning my school session for the kids that I'm about to teach. It's the things that give you energy to get up and go. And then dig into those, like why those things? Is it because you like to help, such as like educating young children and creating those lessons planned for them? Or is it because it gives you a physical sense of satisfaction for being able to accomplish certain things in your life? By looking at where that energy comes, what drives you, what wakes you up in the morning, what gives you that sense of kind of the go get 'em attitude. Those are the things also that can be good indicators of what you feel is important and what you have a passion towards. Now, these are just a few examples of questions that you can go and ask yourself to try and determine what is your peak or your mountaintop or your passion. These probing questions can also lead to other ones. There's a lot of questions you can probably find online to determine what's going to help keep you going. And sometimes you got to dig deeper into each question and ask yourself, what is important about this? Or how does this fulfill my life? So keep doing those things. And as you go and start determining what your passion is and what's important to you, you can go and start filling out the rest of your life with those things and get rid of the things that are not necessarily important. If you'd like to talk further about finding your passion or your mountaintop or peak, please feel free to reach out to me at attitudealtitudeacceptance@gmail.com. I'll put that in the description. More than happy to have some one-on-one conversation with anybody who's interested. Or if you'd like me to go and talk to a group of people, I do that in my kind of job today anyway. More than happy to do those. Just let me know a time and place, and I'll be more than happy to talk to pretty much anybody who would listen. I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to The Joy Site by Trevor Dale. So he has a site called The Joy Site, and it's all about joy and inspiration, kind of similar to the things we talk about here on this podcast. Highly recommend to go look at it. He's got a lot of good blog posts and a lot of good information. I know I looked at his most recent one and pretty much felt inspired to go and continue on the work that I'm doing around inspiration and motivation. So I highly recommend it. Again, it is thejoysite.com. It's Trevor Dale, and definitely take a look at that. Very inspirational, lots of good content still to come as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and you'll join me on the next one. Thank you and have a great day.